I think we'll keep it pretty casual today. I was going to go ahead and start off with a question and answer answer all the questions you guys have right off the bat. And then if there's any time left, I think we're just going to do a 15-20 minutes. And if there's any time left, I'll go ahead and go over certain things and get pretty specific with the certain things if you don't have any more questions. So I'm just gonna, if you guys have any questions with anything, you guys just feel free to raise your hand, and I'll go ahead and get pretty specific with it and answer the question as best as I can. Go ahead.
How in the world do you release it so that you don't get the hyzer? And I mean, I'm trying to learn this pitch putt.
Okay. Good,
and I can't get it to come out very flat or smooth.
Okay, totally. I understand that. So his question is, what his angle of release when he's putting? He's having trouble with his angles releasing, right? Is that what you're saying?
It's just natural to come out as a hyzer,
okay.
and it's just
okay.
A hard time.
So the best way to fix that is really it's all about wrist control with your angle of release. No matter whether you're throwing a drive, an upshot, or a putt, it's all about wrist control. So whether you're going back on a putt with your reach back, so you always want to go back on your same line that you're going forward. So you want to make sure to have you hold your disc. That's why you see a lot of people holding their disc out in front. That's because they're getting their angle of release before they're putting. So if I'm going to putt straight, flat, like you're talking about how you want to, you're going to hold your disc like this the whole time and go back and go. You don't want to go back and break the angle of what you want of your release point. Okay. Go back and hold that angle the whole time. And what the biggest thing that people don't do is they'll do that, but they'll pop the wrist at the last second, go back to the hyzer, and wonder why their putt comes out with the little hyzer. Yeah. So the best way to do it, and it sounds very simple, but it's a lot of people make the mistake of going back and sometimes breaking the angle before they go forward. So if you go back and pop your wrist at the angle you want, it has no choice but to come out of at that angle. So when you're putting, just keep it like this. There's no reason you should never be doing this or anything else. Go back on this angle and pop your wrist like that, at that angle.
So how much are you cocking your wrist?
A little bit. I would say you don't want to cock it to where the disc is touching your right here, this part of your arm. You want to cock it just a little bit, so that way you can get the pop to control the angle. If it's right here and your wrist is flat, your wrist isn't really isn't engaged. It's just the disc is kind of falling out of your hand. But if your putt's just a little bit, if your wrist is a little bit bent like this, you're able to get that pop wherever angle you want. So you want to pop it with a little hyzer. Your wrist pops at an angle. It's flat. Your wrist pops at an angle, whatever it is. And hyzer, same thing. So they're having your wrist bent a little bit, and you got to loosen up your wrist a little bit. When people are really stiff with their wrist, that's when they just it's what I call arming the disc. You just kind of let it fall out of your hand. It's not really, you don't really get that last pop, because that's the most important thing with a putt, is getting that last pop, and that comes from the wrist bending a little bit. You don't want to bend too much, because that's where you get inconsistent, but just bend just enough to where you can get that slight little pop to control the angle. Did that answer your question?
Doesn't mean I'll be a better putter.
Well, that's all I can do is help.
Yeah, so back to putting, what are you thinking about when you're outside the circle? It's a little bit longer putt, you got to get more power.
Yeah.
But I don't know, when I'm a little bit further out, it's like, I don't know, I lose my form a little bit.
Yeah, good question. And that's it's a very common question, and there's it's not going to, obviously, like he said, it's not going to help you right away, but it's it's going to give you some stuff to work on. But for me, when I'm longer range away, I don't change too much. My putt's pretty much the same thing. I put from here, my motion is pretty much the same. I'm just engaging my lower body a lot more. So if I'm low, and obviously I'm aiming a little higher. So there's a few things I'm doing. It's my style of putting. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you how to. Everyone's got their own style, which is great. But what I'm about to tell you with the lower body, it applies to everyone, no matter whether you're a spin putter, just pitch putter, whatever, whatever putting style is. But to increase your distance and accuracy from longer range, the best thing I can tell you guys is really focusing on your lower body, just like I told you with the drive. It's the same concept as it applies to like weight shift and timing going forward. Instead of doing a run up, I'm just putting my weight on my back foot, just like a drive I would, like I told you, 75-25. Except you don't have to, you're exploding the weight without running up. So if I obviously pretend I'm like 50 feet away or something, way back there, from here, obviously I can just kind of stand here and do my motion, whatever motion you do, and kind of just, pitch it in. But when you start getting longer range, you start having to, use your lower body, and it's kind of like you're going from back, and you're just like a drive. Your legs are just in timing with your body, or your upper body and your arm. So if I go like this and then putt it, you're never gonna have success. But if you're your timing with your lower body is even with your upper body, you're pushing and propelling your power forward from this back leg pushing forward. So it's a lot about momentum, especially when you get longer range, because your arm's just guiding the disc. Your lower body is propelling the power and getting the momentum and weight shift going forward. So if you do that, and it's gonna feel weird at first if you're not used to it. You might push your weight forward and your arm's not coming through yet. But as soon as you go, and same thing, you want to go slow. You want to your arm swing and your weight shift. You don't want to just go, you want to go slow and methodical, and that way everything's in timing.
Okay.
As soon as your arm comes back real fast or your weight goes back real fast, that's when you get erratic.
Yeah.
If you push your weight like too early before you putt, you'll just kind of putt it into the ground, and vice versa. You go too, your shoulders will shoot up and you'll miss over the top. So you just gotta, it's just kind of it's a feel thing, and how you do that is you practice it and get used to the weight shift and timing kind of thing. But I like to tell people that because it helps, like I said, no matter which putting style you have.
Okay.
Answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Yeah, no problem.
Do you try to keep a hyzer into a putt, or do you try to keep it flat to fall into a hyzer?
Good question. He's asking what my angle, preferred angle is if I'm putting. I like to have a little bit of a hyzer angle, a flat to hyzer. I like to come into the basket with a little bit of hyzer just because I feel like that's the most consistent for me. But like I said earlier, there's no right or wrong way to do it. As long as you're going through the, you're practicing, you're going, you have your own style and you're consistent and you're doing, like I said, a handful of things with the lower body, like I was just telling you. There's no, I wouldn't say there's a right or wrong way to putt.
But you find the most consistency in
Yeah, just a slight hyzer. I don't want like, I don't want like that, but I'm just a little bit where I can kind of control the flight just to, maybe, a few inches of hyzer. I'm not hyzering like, it depends obviously if I'm farther away. The farther away, it's a lot harder to land dead flat. You might have to have a little bit of hyzer on it. Yeah, from farther away. But if I'm inside the circle, I'm pretty flat with just a slight touch of hyzer. And those are our questions. There we go.
On your flick, are you pulling all the way back and then pushing through?
Yeah.
Is that?
Okay. He's asking with the sidearm if I'm reaching back and pushing all the way through. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So yeah, with the sidearm, I'm definitely doing that. I'm reaching back. And just like a backhand, like they say, the farther you reach back, I like to use this analogy because it's kind of, you guys can kind of relate to it. But the farther you reach back with a backhand, the more power. You guys can tell me pretty simply where I'm going to have more power. If I reach back to here, or if I reach back to here. Same thing with a sidearm. If I'm reaching back with a sidearm and I go from right here and explode forward, as opposed to all the way back here and exploding forward. Clearly the second one is going to have more power because there's more momentum building up. Like I told you, it's all about momentum. There's not much momentum coming from here. By the time you're releasing right here, that's not much momentum there. But if you're all the way back here, your arm speeds up and accelerates much faster through the swing. So that farther reach back, and you'll gain a lot more power that way. And it's gonna, you might be erratic at first just because your arm's got that much more, motion back there. But once you dial it in and tone it down, you'll be able to control it and get more distance in the long run.
So mine was on forehand as well, but just to follow up, how do you get that smooth release out of the forehand? And no matter, even if I feel good about my forehand,
Right.
I got a lot of wobble.
Okay. Good question. He's asking about trying to get a smooth release with a sidearm, and I think it's 50% grip and 50% release. I think I would say when the people are wobbling like that. So I'll go ahead and talk about the release because I think or the grip. Just real quick, I know most of you guys know how to hold the sidearm, but just for you to try and clarify it. But I see a lot of people when they're holding sidearms. There's a gap here. See, like right here. There's a gap between my fingers, and if you're throwing a sidearm and trying to throw it like that, it's not. There's no stability there. But because it's just your fingertips are throwing it. But if you have here and hold it in the meat of your finger right here, like I like to tell people, you have much more stability. You have your fingers here holding at the top, and you also have the meat of your fingers holding onto it. So it's got much more stability. And your fingers are just there for stability. And if it's like this, there's not much stability. You don't have that much control of the disc. But here you have much more control, and it's more stable in your fingers. And the second part of your question is the wrist. You got to incorporate your wrist. But like he was saying with the arm, that you got to match that with the wrist angle. So if the way you achieve different angles, and obviously you want to throw different angles smoothly, is just the last second is that's when you want to get your release, and that's where the last second you build up everything to that last second, and that's where it's all at. And how you get that is you really snap snap the wrist at the same angle you went back on. So you got to discover the angle you want to throw before you throw. So if I'm reached flat, I want to follow through and snap my wrist flat. If I'm just going like this and I just kind of throw it, see how my wrist never snap, it wobble. Now I'll do a second one where I'll kind of snap it. See how I snapped it? No wobble. And that's the big dip. You're just arming. That's the difference between arming the disc and throwing the disc. So everything's building up. You're building it up, and then you just kind of kill it at the end because you don't give it any power. Just, and as soon as you snap your wrist, that's when that's when you achieve the angle you want. So those two things I think will really help.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
A question on how you grip your putter.
Okay. Yeah. He's asking how I grip my putter, and how I grip my putter is I like to put my putter right here like I'm holding a fork, kind of in my finger or in the palm of my hand, and then I like to put my fingers around. So I like to definitely get the comfortable feel with my palm here, and I do that, and then I'll kind of place my fingers, and I like to hold, my pointer finger is kind of out on the rim. I don't have it like up like this. It's kind of down on the bottom part of the rim, because if you hold it up here, it kind of gets in the way. So I like to hold it more on the bottom, and then my three fingers in the bottom are pretty spread out. That way I have a lot of control on the disc. It's kind of spread out pretty wide, so that way I can control the angle and of the disc pretty well. And so that's my style. Some people like to tuck the finger down like that, and that's okay. But I would say the most important things are, making sure there's no gap. Just like I told you with the sidearm, you don't want a gap here. See that there's a gap between my disc and my palm. You don't want that. You want to make sure it's firmly in there, and so that way there's no resistance and it's not wobbly. And then, like I said, the pointer finger is a little different for some people. And another thing I noticed is some people will put their thumb out a little too far. If you put your thumb out too far, it's just going to kind of get in the way. It's going to resist when you're releasing the putt. So if you're holding a little bit, you don't want to hold too close either, because then it just falls out of your hand. So I like to hold it like where the top of the disc and the flight, the rim and the top disc meet, and it's like kind of something like that. Not too close to the rim, but not too far in the middle either. It's good. Like I said, there's no, you just don't want to be too extreme with that.